Okay, good evening and welcome to the first Eumans meeting after the Congress in Warsaw. Thanks for being here and thanks to all of you who had followed the Congress works over the past weekend in Warsaw. As you have seen from the email, and for those of you for who this is the first Eumans meeting, we have this methodology, which is to have always open weekly meetings. We try to have them at least in Italian and English with interpreters, but it's not always possible. And this is the way how we discuss the political goals that each assembly decides and how to try and put them in practice, in action, and to make the most both of the instruments of participatory democracy that are available, but in general, the possibilities that we have as citizens to impact the decisions at the EU level. Of course, this meeting is still happening in conditions of war, and the goal tonight is to focus on some of the most urgent aspects that emerged from the Congress in itself and from the final motion. So it's not a review of all the goals that we have as a movement. It's not only a debriefing of the Congress, but of course, if you want to say something about the Congress, this can be quite important. But I want to start, before leaving the floor to Marco, with some key topics of discussion for tonight. So what we are going to focus on? We are going to focus on the first part of the title of the Congress, which is the sustainable peace. It wasn't just a title to catch the attention, it's the urgency of the moment, it's the challenge of the world, but of the European Union for sure. And so we worked on some of the proposals that were the object of discussion of the Congress, the support to the Ukraine membership to the European Union, the activation of the international courts, and the proposals for the sortition-based citizen assemblies on defense and the energetic plan. Lorenzo Mineo already did a great work in trying to transform these proposals into an appeal that can and should become the priority of our action in the next weeks. I'm super happy that we have with us tonight also Andrii Shutka, who was with us at the Congress. He's an Ukrainian citizen, and I think his presence and eventually his commitment to this initiative can help to make sure that this appeal goes already in the promotion beyond the borders of the EU citizenship. I want to mention that already with some organizations here in Brussels, that are usual partners of Eumans, ESIT Foundation, European Alternatives, and Citizens Take Over Europe. It was in the plan while we were in Warsaw to organize an event called United Citizens for Ukraine here in Brussels. Our office is a few meters from the European Parliament. So this event is going to be confirmed, but it should happen on the 29th of March, and is going to be composed by Ukrainian organizations here in Brussels, civil society organization, as well as members of the European Parliament. So I want us to think about this appointment as an opportunity eventually to have already an official moment of advocacy with the members of the European Parliament that will take part in the event. There is a second layer that I think it's important for us, which is, and it's already on Eumans Agora, the appeal of the all-women strike movement led by Marta Lempart, who was also a guest of a speaker of the Congress. There is this appeal from the pro-abortion movement in Poland for asking for support from the civil society, the European civil society, both in terms of the emergence on the rule of law and democracy in Poland, but also on the fact that it's the European civil society that is taking care of the migrant emergency, whilst the response from national governments is still too weak. I mentioned that next week the Commission will issue the communication on the temporary protection measures for migrants is a directive that is going to be activated for the first time, which offers some coverage to the migrants emergency, and its application in the EU member states, of course, is also essential to make sure that there is a systematic reply of the EU institutions and the member states on the emergency. I think the third aspect we can start to mention, because I see also there is Andrea Salimbeni here, is the energy plan and the climate issue in light of the war, which can be either part of the appeal that we're going to launch, or maybe it can have a dedicated area and line of action, but of course is tightly connected with the situation of war. In the next weeks, we will cover the other aspects of the motion of Eumans, the sortition-based citizen assemblies that we want to have internally, and the other political goals. But we thought with Marco that tonight was important to start from where we left, which is our initiatives to support Ukrainians, and not only, and everything that can be done now from a citizens-led perspective for the context we live in. I leave the floor to Marco Cappato, President of Eumans. Consider the meeting open, so you can write in the chat if you want to speak. Maybe after Marco, Lorenzo Mineo can share with us the first draft of the appeal. Marco.
Yes, thank you, Co-President Fiume. And I thank, first of all the participants to the Congress, physically speaking, and also online. I think it was a success in terms of quality of debate and also presence and commitment, in particular from citizens and civil society. It was more difficult to have institutional involvement and in even media coverage, of course, because of the things that are happening now, which take the priority. And we were discussing with Virginia already the idea in 3 months' time to have the next assembly, not the annual assembly, but the trimestral assembly, to have it in Warsaw again, to try to involve to have a wider involvement from institutions. Talking about, well, as Virginia said, is not maybe the right time to go through the whole motion, the whole final document and all the different aspects. Some of them have an strong organizational implication, like the launch of a European citizen initiative on cannabis will be the most ambitious plan that we have, and also the living will end of life decision. I think that we have good connections all around Europe to grow the proposal of a European living will. But the only thing that I wanted to underscore now is that the idea of accelerating the adhesion process of Ukraine in the European Union is an emergency action, because once weapons, and we hope it will be as soon as possible, once weapons will be silent, the whole process will be dragged and delayed, not only for Ukraine, but also for the other candidate members. So it's maybe, I hope it's a matter of days or weeks, the window of opportunity that we have on this proposal. And what's the point in human dealing with this? The point is to have the issue treated not only as an issue for governments. We know already that in Europe we have Eastern Europe government in favor of accelerating the process of adhesion, Western European country basically skeptical or tacitly against this prospect. But where European citizens are up to, That's the point. We need to make it become an issue which is dealt also by citizens, not only by government. 3 heads of state just traveled to Kiev, head of governments, in a very symbolic but important initiative. I can tell you that I am in contact with Luca Casarini, an Italian civil activist involved with many things, who launched in the Italian media the idea of having a citizens non-violent march in Ukraine to ask for the ceasefire, basically. So I relaunched this proposal, and we are also checking if there will be a concrete possibility for this option, and I will let you know about it. But in the meantime, I think it's very important if you try to exploit the tragic window of opportunities of this day to involve citizens on the idea of Ukraine in the European Union. So I think that, of course, anyone and each of us can go on working on the specific topic it feels he or she feels more involved on. It would be of tremendous help for Virginia and for myself to know better from you which kind of issues, which kind of topics you would like to follow, and we cannot discuss them every time everybody together like in plenary meeting. So this is also important during this meeting or in the coming days, just to try to tell us what do you expect from Eumans and what do you expect from your involvement in Eumans. In the meantime, let's try to launch, with the help of the people who attended the Congress, in particular from Ukraine and Belarus, but not only them, also, and from Poland, but not only them, to launch civic involvement on the proposal of Ukraine in the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. So I would like Lorenzo Mineo to start to share with us the work that he had done in transforming the proposal in the appeal. One decision to make is if the appeal is only for the Ukraine in the European Union or if it's broader than that. I think Lorenzo worked on a broader version, but it can be object of debate. And then I don't know if, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but if Andrii wants to say something, I would rather give the floor first to our Ukrainian citizens to discuss this, but no obligation. Lorenzo.
Yes, a few words. I will share the text we draw on Agora. So Virginia, just a few words first on Eumans member. We had a lot of new subscription and membership after the Congress, of course, and so I just updated the list of Euman members, and so this is also an appeal to become Eumans member if you still haven't subscribed your membership. So thanks, Virginia, for sharing in the chat also the draft of appeal. It's just the beginning of a drafting of a text. I see Marco Perduca also joining the meeting. This is good because with him we are considering if elaborating a little bit more some aspect of the article. Well, in first instance, the main aspect of the proposed appeal is to concentrate on the opening of a public debate of the European civil society and European citizens, and in general those who live in Europe, on being acknowledged and having the opportunity to comment, share and discuss on what is happening with the war in Ukraine. So from this point of view, the starting point is the conference on the future of Europe, and I think the message Eumans can spread is to leave the debate open as much as possible on the one end, the most urgent measures that can be taken regarding, for instance, the acceptance of the request of membership from Ukraine, and this is related to the most urgent matter. On the other hand, the more long-term reform that are war-related, so for instance, the reform of common defense policy, the reform on energy policy. So in this appeal, we take as a starting point the recommendation from the Conference on the Future of Europe, in particular, a recommendation of the Panel on Democracy, saying that a EU referendum should be institutionalized and a European Citizen Assembly should be institutionalized. And we propose that the most urgent matters related to the war, so for instance, the request of Ukraine to become a member, should be used for a European referendum. So it's first of all an appeal to use the instrument of participatory democracy proposed by the Conference on the Future of Europe for war-related issues and for the acceptance, for discussing at least the request of the Ukraine as European citizens, so to decide it through a European referendum. Plus this, there is the issue of a European Citizen Assembly by sortition on EU common defense and EU energy policy. Once again, this is not something we invented, but we take as a starting point recommendation 2 and recommendation 20 of the panel Migration and the Role of the EU in the World from the Conference on the Future of Europe. And we say, okay, the proposal of the conference, so for instance, recommendation 2, the request of having a more autonomous Europe from the point of view of energy policy, or the request 20 to create a joint forced army only for defense proposals, these should be matters for discussion of a European Citizen Assembly that should be convened. And since the Conference on the Future of Europe itself is requesting for the institutionalization of a European Citizen Assembly, so those two should be the first two matters of discussion of this European Citizen Assembly. So this is concerning the most participatory democracy related issues that we can urge in our appeal. And of my first draft, I saw that Marco Perduca is integrating this with some more specific issues related on why it is today a good idea to accept the membership of the membership of Ukraine. So I don't know if Marco wants to integrate a bit what I said on his proposal on the appeal.
Marco Cappato. If it's fine, I'll keep the chairing role just so that there's one person that does it. Bye, Marco.
No, my very quick reaction, maybe it's not maybe it's too quick to be the good one, but sorry if I didn't have the time to read it before. The text can be more an explanatory statement than the appeal that people should sign. I think that you could be in favor of accelerating the process of adhesion to Ukraine to the European Union without sharing or even having the time to go deeper in the issue of citizens' assemblies and all the other issues that are coming out from the Congress. So in a way, I think that even in order to have 21 or whatever translations quick and fast circulating around, I think that the text that should be signed should really a couple of lines. Then there could be an explanatory statement by Eumans of what the reasonments and the procedure could be around the idea, because if not, well, we risk to have it signed only by our mailing list recipients.
Thank you, Marco. You can raise your hand or write in the chat if you want to say something. Main object of debate is which type of appeal for Ukraine in the European Union, potentially which actions, we can start also to be a bit creative, like which type of actions can...
An important thing to underscore, Virginia, is that we don't dispose of European-wide database so that an initiative like that could have some success in a few days' time, as it needed, only if it can trigger the cooperation of organizations in different countries, members of parliaments, institutions. So if this can be recognized as the tool, simple, quick, with whom citizens, members of parliaments, mayors, organization can enlist themselves as a supporter of the proposal. So it's not something that with our own strength we can pretend will be disseminated around Europe. This is why it would be very important an Ukrainian version of the text that could circulate even among refugees and citizens around the world, and to have, this is why, well, I'm also not pushing Andrii to speak, but their participation would be crucial if there is a chance for moving something in a very quick time.
On this, I also want to mention is not with us tonight, but Bogdan Poklov, who was the speaker in the opening session from Razum from Ukraine. He told that he doesn't have a lot of time, but he can help us with the appeal itself. So maybe Andrei can do some help in the outreach, and also Razum for Ukraine eventually will be on board. So it's a good news in terms of the people that would benefit ultimately from the initiative itself.
So maybe I will give some opinion about what I listened. About the things that, about the text, about the understanding what they're telling about. We must answer, like you said, the citizens of Ukraine. And also we must like to give them understandable information, because when I trying to tell people about the Europe from information what I have from the university, and when I have a lesson in some class and tell the students about what is it Europe and how it's work, it's really hard because we don't have like some space about speaking about the Europe, and it's give very like problematic information. Also, I can tell that we don't have like some subject about the Europe. So now we need like to understand that the citizens like don't understand in some way how to speak, how to know about the Europe. Also, in my opinion, it's like a good idea to give some from the parliament or from the council some like education information for the people, and make it very easy, because like when they start to know about the Article 49 and also from like a lot of information, it will be hard. So in my opinion, we need to speak about the students like Ukrainian who studied some in Warsaw, like I studied in Europe integration, and they can give information from the other students who are from the Ukraine. So also, in my opinion, about the first, we need to give information that's an open conversation to like to take more people for this conference, also as a member from the Ukraine. So yes, thank you. Also, I tell my friends and my classmates about the conference, about Eumans, and they say thank you for you all, and they tell me the day of victory are near, and we will all celebrate like one big country in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks a lot also for, I think, the call for simplifying the message to make sure that it goes to the heart of the people. Maybe a question that I have for you is if there are any networks of students, like, for example, if there are networks of Ukrainian students in the European Union universities, maybe it's something that once we have a version and you can help us to make sure that it's understandable, I think it's a good benchmark. But if maybe you would like to help us to find in the universities within the EU some students that are far from home and war is on fire, home is on fire. And so if there is a way maybe to make sure that we can circulate in the European universities with your help, and maybe others that want to help, but I think this can be a helpful action. I don't see any other hands, but I see Sibilla. Okay, Sibilla asked me to translate in English what she's writing. Okay, so the proposal of Sibilla Barbieri, Eumans member, is to, in order to show how there is a common territory in Europe and not only in the European Union, is to try and connect mayors of small cities to basically self-declare that they are twin cities of Ukrainian cities. So let's say the mayor of Cerveteri, I'm just thinking about one city that was in support of one of our initiatives in the past, can kind of say, okay, we are twin city with Mariupol, Ukraine. Like, I think this is the proposal of Sibilla, like to encourage mayors of EU cities to declare twinship with Ukrainian cities as a way to support the proposal and the appeal.
Well, I would like to insist on the very few energy that we have and the need of concentrate on a specific goal. There are, I think, something like some 10,000 mayors, like 60,000, something like that in Europe. So it is not something that we can. It is not something that we can manage. It's a good idea, but I think we should concentrate on what we can really do.
But I was thinking, Marco, about that we have the net of the major that we have used before.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we should ask them to support the idea of Ukraine in the European Union, because if we start to propose them two things to do, and we will not have any control, and to decide to link with another city, they should take contact with the mayor. It's a very interesting thing. I think it would be very positive. It is not something that we can directly manage. This is the point that I want to make. Andrea.
Andrea Salimbeni.
Yeah, can you hear me? I have quite a bad computer today. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. No, my point was exactly about the efforts we can put on it. We can start from what Andrii said about they are lacking information and methods when they discuss. So every time they say how to do or anyway on how to approach Europe opportunity, they don't know where to start and how to connect. We can be the connection, we can be the contact point, we can provide information, we can do how to say something, discussions with them if they feel the need, if they feel now the urgency. But of course, to do that, we need Ukrainian to do and to enlarge their internal network. Even forming a group of 10 persons interested in approaching this topic could bring to an online meeting, or if feasible, something similar in these days, and we could act as a contact. I think this is our position could be, considering the difficulties nowadays in getting communication and organizing something. But it is, of course, we must be aware about. But what we can do now is to do a support action to Ukrainians who would like to do that. So I'll ask who is in contact with Ukrainian guys. Andrea self, I am not, so I cannot help that much, unfortunately, to try and form a group, a discussion group where we can help and facilitate the discussion and discuss about the methods, the times, and maybe finding someone that can bring to the upper level the discussion.
Thank you, Andrea. There is a hand from, sorry, I see, Perduca, Marco Perduca.
Hello, sorry about the connection. I'm also walking in the streets of Rome. So if I understand what Marco is saying, perhaps the best appeal would be 2 lines that says, yes, you can do it because EU should do it, period. In times of war, everything gets revolutionized. So while it is always necessary to find a procedural appeal here and there, and remember Article 49 and blah, blah, blah. I agree with Andrii that said before, it is complicated and people could care less, because as they don't care now about what the governments are doing, everyday citizens are supplying with their solidarity people in need that are escaping, they need food, they need shelter, they need clothes, and all those things. So the appeal is 2 lines. Everybody from around the world should be able to sign it. And it's, of course, directed to the European Council and the European Commission, period.
Yeah.
I was talking today to an international professor of international law, and he told me that if, for instance, in the moment in which there is a declaration of aggression, already that is a crime, because it's a completely different situation. We are not only facing a declaration of aggression, but a war of aggression. So everything else is in a completely different, also legal framework. And here you don't have to argue this and that or go back to the Manifesto Ventotene as I did in the draft of the appeal. 2 lines that they are understandable by everybody. They target the body that should do it because they should do it. It's I would say, a sort of an international obligation under international law. But it can also be just said like that poetically without any legal argument, because we are facing a war of aggression. That's it.
Thank you, Marco Perduca. Lorenzo Mineo.
Yeah, very quickly, just to open the debate. I mean, I agree with what Marco Cappato also was saying with the need of simplification, and also Andrea was underlying the need to go more to talk to the art of people, and you know, talking about the Conference of the Future of Europe recommendation is doesn't speak that much to the art. So I agree to simplify. The only one thing I'm wondering is about the European referendum, if this is something that could stay maybe in the appeal, because it's something that somehow is a message of citizens' participation that humans could bring, and it could be also more original compared to many appeal for the Ukraine in the EU that we are seeing in this way. So I don't know if it's a good idea to add a line saying that we don't only support the request, or we don't only ask to urge the request of the Ukraine, but we also would like that this could be part of a discussion through a European referendum.
Marco Cappato, then myself to speak, and please add your names if you want to add.
My comment is that the referendum, as all the other consideration with the citizen assemblies and so on, I will put them in the explanatory statement that would function also as an explanatory procedure that we would suggest and propose, because there is nothing as a European referendum by now. So if we link the proposal to idea of a referendum from the institutional point of view, is like saying that this would be done, I don't know, in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, be optimistic. So we are now calling for an immediate political decision, and this decision cannot be made in any other way than heads of state and government in Europe and the European Commission deciding to go political and to speed up the accession. Then in the explanatory statement, we can explain that we would like the maximum involvement of citizens, referendum, the decision of enlargement could be made object of a referendum, not only for Ukraine, also for other countries, the need of a European-wide referendum, but the realization of a European referendum is incompatible with the immediate timeline that we are suggesting to the EU institution. This is why I will mention it in the explanatory, in a way it's an explanatory statement and procedure that we want to combine to other proposals. But the proposal in itself, we have to keep it essential.
So myself, I have a political comment, and then I also want to remind we have time until 8. Marco also asked another question, which is beyond the emergency and the war. If people in the meeting have specific interest on topics that are in the motion and areas of action, please come out so we also know who we are and what brings us here. From a political perspective on the appeal, there is an element that I was discussing with Tony Venables from ECIT Foundation. It was one of the partners of the EU Sign Day. I was checking with him what his take on the idea of the appeal from the Ukraine in the EU. And basically one idea that he had was to make it more interesting, to associate the European citizenship to the temporary protection measures that are going to be granted to the refugees fleeing from Ukraine. So basically to add I would need to check with him what it means. I don't think, I mean, there is not such a thing as a European passport, we all know, but somehow we could have in the appeal and use this as a revolutionary experiment to start the idea of the European citizenship from the people that are arriving in the European Union now. So it can be Ukraine in the EU and European citizenship for the refugees. And maybe this is also a way to differentiate from other appeals on the same matter. I don't have the legal foundation to support this idea, but I thought it was quite intriguing and maybe a layer that we can add to the initiative. Hence, Cappato.
This is very interesting, Virginia, and I don't want to give always the same answer because they are not always the same proposal. But then again, this is a proposal concerning 2 million people, 3 million people that will become 4 million people and probably much, much more, unfortunately. But here, we are not just talking, the proposal of Ukraine in the European Union is not just about Ukraine or Ukrainians, is a way to revolutionize the European Union itself. The way in which the European Union conceives itself. This is why all I would call them side proposal can be mentioned because this is a very good idea, but it has implication on immigration policies that could, in a way, bring people to look at the detail instead of looking the big picture. And the big picture is for 500 million people, not just for those who are hit directly by the war. That's why this institutional proposal should have a priority on the others, possible corollary on procedures and on free circulation of people.
Thank you, Marco. One question to those who are going to be addressed by the appeal. Is the Commission, the Council and the Parliament? And the second question is, does the Parliament have any power on this matter, the European Parliament, I mean? Like what potentially we could ask the MEPs, because we have this event potentially on the 29th with members of the European Parliament. So what are the things that the European Parliament potentially could do?
Well, the European Parliament can always take a political position through an urgent resolution or something like that. It did already in a way, because in the plenary session when President Zelensky attended the meeting, then there was a text from the European Parliament. So the European Parliament does not carry a direct power of initiative on adhesion of third countries, but it still have all the political power to take a position in this time. This is why I'm also saying members of parliament around Europe and within the European Parliament should be the first people to whom we should address, also because it's easy to have their addresses and in a way to find them, and also because they can be focal point for the collection of signatures in their own countries.
Okay, no, the hand is mine, so no, lower hand. Okay. Any other comment? You can also write in the chat in Italian if you prefer, and we can try to translate, or since we have some time, you can speak in Italian and we can quickly translate if you are not too complicated, but please keep it.
I see that Tonina Cordetta wrote great idea. I think she was mentioning the idea that you, Virginia, raised. And I would recommend, as we said at the beginning, we did not have the time to go through all the different issues of the final motion for resolution of the Congress, but I encourage all of you to read it, the one of you who attended the Congress, but also the one that maybe did not have the time to read it through. Thank you, Lorenzo, who put it in the chat, because this is really our in a way our charter, the tool through which we are going in order to push the agenda of specific points. So please, I encourage you to study this document and then to get back to Virginia and myself and Lorenzo to tell us in which specific fields and commitments you would like to take.
And the other thing that I want to add, and I see that there is Mirella Paracchini as well connected, there is this appeal from the all-women strike movement, which is the abortion movement in Poland. Basically, I'm gonna share again the link of the appeal, is asking for support, because as we heard during the Congress, the organizations that are usually fighting for the other rights are currently managing the migrants emergency. So I find this appeal quite interesting. They ask for direct donations because currently they're using their funds to support the migrant emergency, which means that they don't have funds for civil rights initiatives. The appeal is quite detailed. I don't know if Mirella already had the chance to read it and want to say something about that. My proposal is to simply, in the meantime, publish the appeal on our channels and support it from a social media perspective and circulation. And then if someone is particularly interested in the abortion rights issue, the all-women strike is open to collaborations, but I think we need to reach out to them once we know someone can follow that. But in the meantime, maybe we can promote their appeal. But I don't know if Mirella had the chance to read it and has any comment on that. Of course, that's a good moment to talk about it. I'm gonna share it here in any case. And also because I remember Sibilla was asking which organizations we could kind of support. I made a list of all the NGOs that were kind of vetted by people we met in Warsaw for more emergency and humanitarian support. In my opinion, if we have to make a choice, probably the civil rights movements are more in line with what we try to do. And they both deal with emergency and also are organizations that have a vision of society similar to ours. So I would probably suggest them. But don't Sibilla if you have seen it, but here is the list of organizations. And I differentiated those that we met in person and were at the Congress from those who we just know from people who know someone. So for those of you who are more into the humanitarian support that can be done. Andrea Salimbeni says about the sustainability issues, instead of starting a new discussion now, I can write down the proposal on Agora. I think that's a great way to go. For those of you who don't know Eumans, entirely Eumans Agora is our platform for discussion and elaboration. In the next months, we also update that in partnership with Associazione Luca, Coscioni and other participatory democracy activists. But yes, Andrea, maybe you can add there what you were thinking about the sustainability angle. I remind all of us the incredible speech that Flavia Panzieri did during the session on sustainability, connecting again the human rights issue and the climate issues. So I don't know, Andrea, I had a look at the appeal, but I think including references to the UN recommendation that Flavia mentioned can also be quite interesting to have a regulatory framework for initiatives on that.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe Flavia can be also helpful to have a chat with in case we want to launch something again, high level type of connections.
I would like to send to her the three appeal proposal I drafted, which are actually proposal for EU Parliament mainly, about regulations and motion for resolution, etc.
Cool. Let's use our networks. A hand from Giannandrea Dagnino, or Giannandrea.
Giannandrea. Hi. Well, no, I would ask if we are proposing something on the side of Russia. I wrote something during the Eumans Congress about Russia. I would be interested in asking you what do you think we should do on the side of Russia, of Russian people, I mean, because the proposal concerns, our proposal concerns Ukrainian people, but I think Russian people is also victim of Putin's oppression. So I think it would be very important to stress this aspect and to have a proposal regarding Russian people.
So on that, I can tell you what we had been involved in, and then I don't know if again the others want to add. So Science for Democracy, which was a partner of the Congress with the session on the rights to science, is launching an open letter. Maybe Marco Perduca can explain better, but to avoid the boycotting of Russian academics, which is a thing that now is happening. And so basically the letter is to call for, I mean, being a Russian citizen doesn't mean being Putin. And therefore, this is one of the initiatives that is going to be done. And another initiative that European Alternatives is launching is a series of assemblies with Ukrainian, Russian, and Belarusian citizens, as well European citizens. So it's a series of online assemblies to create a network of citizens that in the name of democracy are joined together. So my proposal for us is to basically back up the work that European Alternatives is doing, maybe proposing that some of these assemblies are on topics that are more relevant for us. So for example, the academic field with Science for Democracy or other aspects, so that this network that goes beyond the border of nation states and the European Union can somehow become a form of involvement of the Russian dissidents to the regime. These are two things that are kind of options that we have available. I don't think asking Russia to join the EU is achievable or a good idea at the moment, but that's the practical things that are happening right now. Okay, 7:58. A very successful first meeting of the Eumans evolution, 28 people. Thanks for being here. You have our email contacts, you have Eumans Agora, and I'm also gonna share the Slack channel where we have the chat active. I guess maybe with Lorenzo Mineo, we will work on a revised draft of the appeal with the Ukraine in the EU as the core, and then maybe the annex document is like, and this could be some ways to proceed. Maybe we will circulate it in our channels, but also with Andrea. I would use him as a reference, in my opinion, for the heat of the appeal, and also with the Bogdan from Razum for Ukraine. I suggest maybe on Monday at 5:30 we can have a more practical organizational meeting on the appeal, like how to promote it, who can contact who, etc., so that we don't we're not too operational on the next meeting on Thursday, and at the same time we don't wait 1 week to act because we don't have 1 week time. So for those of you who want to be more involved in the Ukraine, in the EU campaign initiative, let me know and let's meet at this same link on Monday at 5:30. So by then we should have a version of the appeal, maybe some first round of potential supporters, and then we decide how to move forward. And I will make sure that our proposal is included in the event here in Brussels with the MEPs as one of the object of discussion. So we have a public venue in Brussels to present it in any case, whatever is the output. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Grazie.
Enjoy your Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Thanks. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
I have a little question because
Oh yes, Andrea.
I have the idea because now I just speak with my neighbor and he also from the Ukraine, and we think that it will be great that we will create some in Warsaw, some Ukrainian group. We are like meeting Friday always in the room in some restaurant and speak about some things. So we can also like create, because I can tell from my opinion how it will be great to integrate the Ukraine to Europe. So we can create like group of students of Ukrainian and we'll give their opinion in Eumans what we think about some subject and tell it.
That's a great idea, like as a students for Ukraine in the EU with Eumans, sort of a action group.
Yes, and we can give like more like open information what we need in the like all subject, and also where I can find the subject to speak with the friends and like then to tell the opinion what we have.
You can be the first human group. We just launched it with our statute. I think it would be cool if the first Humans group will be Ukrainians students in Warsaw. It could be quite cool. And maybe Maria Pia can also be your, I mean, Maria Pia is not Ukrainian, but she's based in Warsaw. Maybe she can also be your contact. I mean, you can work together on the concept. So we have also a line communication. Yes. I don't know, maybe some help or you help each other.
Because we have like a lot of groups of students of Ukraine in Kiev, in Warsaw, also in the university. We now like we have in one subject like to create this tractate of connecting Ukraine to Europe, and we like working about the debate about how it must look like, and we have a lot to tell from the Ukrainian part. So yeah, so maybe I will like to know what the subject I will in the next like week, and I will discuss it with my friends or they agree or disagree to give their opinion, and then I will tell.
Let's do like this. The first subject is the appeal Ukraine in the European Union. So how it can be conceived. Maybe with Lorenzo we'll send you the draft by tomorrow, so you have a draft. And I think discussing how Ukrainian groups across Europe can be involved in the promotion of the appeal is the best object of discussion. So it's in line with the political goal, and at the same time, it's you guys and girls, hopefully, that can come up with ideas on how it can be propagated across the Ukrainian diaspora, basically. I don't know if...
No, I totally agree, because Andrea, I think that it's important to be specific, because not just on the general idea of friendship, Europe and Ukraine and Ukrainian people as a part of Europe, it's good, but it's very general, it's cultural, and it could take years and decades. And in some way, Ukraine has always been also European. Now we need a specific urgent action on an immediate political goal. And this could help also in aggregating students and people around your idea. So I think that what Virginia said is the immediate thing to do, to use the appeal to aggregate the people that you can find, and we can try to help you find.
Okay, yeah, sure, because like we studied in University of Warsaw, the Europe integration. We know about these instruments. We know a lot about the Europe. So I can also give like to people who will be in some groups information about the Europe, and then we can choose like what the most like powerful and needed opportunities we can choose. So yes. So
okay, let's do like this. Maybe I don't know what's your time frame for organizing this, but we can say that if you want to join on Monday at 5:30, we have this more focus on the appeal task force meeting, and we see how to launch this. If you have the meeting before, the question is, okay, these crazy people want to launch an appeal for Ukraine in the European Union, what we can do to make sure that there is as much mobilization as possible. Maybe people can, I know it's hard in Ukraine, but maybe the voice of the local mayors of Ukraine, like if we have voices from Ukraine that are, I don't know, intellectuals, writers, artists, I don't know, like coming up with ideas that can boost this from a Ukrainian perspective. I think it's the most important thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening and see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Grande Klaus. Ciao, Klaus.
Ciao.
Ciao.